Joining us at the table, we have DeDe Lea, Executive Vice President, Global Public Policy and Government Relations, Paramount. Enjoy our conversation. Take your seat, get comfortable, because it's time to stay a while. I am your host, Tommi Vincent, and we are delighted to be in conversation with DeDe Lea. How are you?
Thank you. I am well. How are you?
I am doing very well, thank you.
Good. Good.
Listen,
I'm glad to hear that.
yes, because life is moving and shaking, and there's a lot going on.
That's right.
Being well is a very important.
It's very
to me.
important. It is.
Yes,
it is.
And as someone who has a long tenure of success, we know you did not wake up that way.
No. No.
So there's been a lot of training ground to get where you are.
Yeah.
So would you mind please share, how did you get where you are?
It's been a journey, right? It's been a process, but I will say it really started as a child. So my parents had their own company. They had a catering company. So I grew up in the kitchen, either cooking. There's certain foods I cannot eat today because I made them I don't throw a meatball in front of me.
They're like hot dogs.
Yeah,
too many hot dogs.
Don't throw ramaki in front. There's just some stuff I can't eat. But that work ethic of having to help in the company business gave me the work ethic that you need to do what I do today and what I've done throughout, my career. It's getting up. It's the grind. You just have to put in the work. And I think that is really the foundation, that gave me the ability to do the work that I'm doing now. My father died when I was 14, died suddenly of a heart attack. So my mother had to run the company. Little did I know she was actually running it anyway, as the wives typically are. My father was the personality, my mother was the business person, but she had to do both. And that made me, in a way, have to grow up quickly, but also remember that life goes on and that you just have to keep going. You can't stop in whatever adversity you have. You just have to keep going forward. And that obviously was a turning point in my life and made a big difference for how I have to approach things today and every day.
Mm-hmm. When you think about your childhood and that experience and that work ethic that you developed, what is a defining moment in that process where you recognize, I have something special inside of me?
Yeah. I don't know that I ever recognized I had something special because I was always just doing and working. I graduated high school at 16, so I left Texas and went to Howard University at 16. So some people would say that was special, but it was just me. It was just what I was supposed to do. It never occurred to me that I would not be successful. And I don't say that arrogantly. It was just, you go to school, you're supposed to do well. I just assumed I would. So maybe for me, it was just that assumption that everything was going to work out. Again, going back to my father's death, when I thought the world was just going to fall apart. No, actually, everything worked out all right. So maybe inside it was that optimism and that just knowing that it was going to be fine. So I don't know that it was special, and maybe it was, but maybe it's that ability from my father's death to not dwell on things. And maybe that's what helped catapult me.
Would you say that is, I know we're not speaking about what you know to be true because you've learned how to move through life regardless of the circumstances.
Right.
As you reflect on that right now in this moment, are you able to see that that's not something that everyone possesses?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I guess, my mother, when my father passed away, she told my two older sisters, she said, pull yourself together. We have a business to run. So I think she was the one who gave that to us. But yeah, I agree. But one of the things I do try to tell people when they have adversities, be it death or something really tragic happen or horrible happen in your life, don't stay there.
Yes.
move on. Don't do that to yourself, because people move on. And you're still in whatever this situation is from 10, 15 years ago, and everybody else has moved on and forgotten about it. But you're right, not everyone can do that, but people should learn how to do that. They really have to.
That's definitely a skill for myself personally. I didn't have that early on in my life.
Right.
I did encounter adversity, and it wasn't that I processed it, that I needed to move forward and move through it. I
Right.
just took it and tucked it away.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
me, it came up later in life because I did not even take 1 second to sit in it and know how it impacted me, that it caused me to be flat on my back. I went through a bout of depression and not knowing, how did I even get here?
Right.
Because so much of my life I tucked away.
Right.
As someone with lived life experience, and we are managing those things, do you have any advice for all of us on how to recognize what the situation is, give it the attention it requires, and move on? Because that's a multi-step process.
It's a multi-step process. Don't tuck it away. And in our community, we tend to have this issue with counseling. We tend to have this issue with therapy. We need to stop it. If you need help, go get help, but don't stay in the help phase, right? At some point, you do have to move on, but you do have to stop down, and you do have to address it, and then you have to move on. It is a step-by-step process, but you have to recognize that you need the help, and it's okay to need help. And I think there's this myth of the strong Black woman, because we've had to be strong, but we also need help, and that's okay. And that's what I often tell people too. Do what you have to do to get over whatever it was or get through it. Just don't stay in it, because staying in it is just too toxic.
Do you have the opportunity to mentor other women, and I'm being specific to gender, but other women that are coming up in the ranks? Is that something that you do?
I do. I do it more informally than formally.
Okay.
So people will call me and say, I need your advice, I need your help, I need your thoughts, and I'm happy to give it. I find for me that's better, because I travel so much, and I have so much going on. I have 2 kids, I have a husband.
You don't have to be committal.
I'm not really a committal person. I'm just not. The minute I hear commitment, I'm like, I don't want to do that. It's true, I don't want to do that. But I'm always happy to, because people did that for me. So I'm always happy to talk to young women and talk to them about things that people told me that thankfully they did, and really made my life better today. Look, one of the things I tell a lot of young women is, don't let work become your everything. Because I see too many women who are, late 30s, early 40s, and then they're stuck, right? All they do is work. They don't have a relationship. They don't have kids. They're not married. They're not anything except for work. And I remind them, there's something else besides work. So take a minute. Maybe it means you stay in that job a little bit longer, but you do have to have a personal life, because companies change, things change, and there you are. And I have too many friends where that's happened. They got caught up in the work, and then they looked up and they're in their mid to late 50s, and they're like, oh, wait, I forgot to do this. And now they're trying to do it. So I do talk to women about that. I tend to talk more about the personal side than the professional side, because I feel like the professional side will take care of itself. You know what you're doing. You have to be assertive. You know when to speak up and when not to speak up. But the other side of that, the personal side, is equally important, because if you don't have the personal side, or you don't have a partner who can help you, that professional side is harder. It's much harder. And I'm thankful I have a husband who's great and who helps me.
When you were matriculating through life, before you had the position you have now, is there an opportunity that you had from a career perspective that set you up for success today outside of working with your family?
Yeah, absolutely. So I worked in radio, in advertising and sales for about 5 years when I first came out of college. And I looked around and I saw that all of the other people were much older than me and they just didn't seem happy, I have to say. And I thought, well, I don't want to be 40. I was 20 something. I don't want to be 40 and unhappy. So I decided to go to law school.
Okay.
So I applied and got accepted to a bunch of different law schools in DC, chose Georgetown Law. And I think it was taking that opportunity, what was clear, taking that opportunity opened this door for me, because without it, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now.
So sometimes we are moving throughout life and we do these things and we may feel like this serves no purpose in our life. This opportunity right here, I hate what I'm doing right here. Do you believe that everything adds value to your process?
Absolutely. I never had anything that I hated. So I think I was blessed in that sense. When I was in college, when I was at Howard, I interned everywhere in Washington. I was at every radio station, everything that I could do, getting coffee, doing whatever, just being in the environment. Were some of those the best experiences? No. But by the time I graduated Howard, I knew a whole lot of people. So I think you can either be a sponge and just take in everything, or you can just say it's not worth it. I was a sponge and I took in everything that I learned. I observed before I spoke. And I think that is what's helped me. But I think if you can find the good out of every opportunity, it will help you. But you may have to dig a little deeper, but don't waste it. You're there, so why waste it? Use it.
We are right now in a culture where everybody wants everything right now. Do you think we need more sponges in the world?
Yes, yes, yes. Be a sponge. Be a sponge. Yeah, we do. I think everybody, my husband's so funny. Women will come up to him and say, "Oh, I want to be DeDe. I want to be DeDe." And he said, "Well, if you want to be DeDe, you need to be married to a man like me." And I was like, but you do. I think there's a process. If I had moved up too quickly, I wouldn't be able to handle all the incoming that I get every day in this job. And I think people want to be where we are, but they don't realize that I've been lobbying for 30 years, right? I know I don't look it. I started when I was 10. But there is a process there. It doesn't mean that you have to stay where you are forever, but it also means don't jump too quick.
Yes.
And I think too many people jump too quick and they aren't ready for the next step. And then they've wasted time because they have to go back and start over.
So before I let you go, is there any words of wisdom that you would depart into our listening community to encourage, to let's stay in this thread line of being a sponge?
Yeah. My mother used to say, I don't understand the word can't. So I would encourage people, don't focus on what you can't do. Focus on what you can do. And there is truth to, if you think you can do it, you can. You have what you say you have. So you're going to have to put in the work. You may have to go back to school. I went back to school. I was out of school for 5 years and then went to law school and worked during the day and went to law school at night. That was tough. I had no life. But that's okay. So I think you have to put in the work. It can be hard work. It may not be 9 to 5 work, but it's doable. Anything is doable if you put your mind to, and if you put the work in that's needed for it. But don't let other people tell you what you can or cannot do. You decide what you can and cannot do. I decided what I could and could not do. No one else told me. And I had people say to me, don't go to law school. Why would you do that? All these lawyers, don't go to law school. You don't want to be a lawyer. You don't get to tell me what I can and cannot do. And I think people need a little bit more of that sponginess, but also stick-to-itiveness. Just keep pushing and it will happen. It really will.
Thank you for that. I felt like you was talking to me, girl. I'm like, she talking to me. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Tommi B. Come on, stay